Witam wszystkich. Dzisiaj wyjątkowy odcinek na ładowanie TV ze specjalnym gościem z drugiej strony globu, Matt Stans. Hi, how are you? Together with na ładowanie TV, we are warmly welcome you. Matt Stans is our guest from Tritium company. So the company from totally another side of the world, because from Australia. Matt, nice to meet you, first of all.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for having me.
I'm glad that you managed to come here from a different part of the globe. So Matt, you represent Tritium company, so the manufacturer of the DC charging stations. Am I correct?
Yep, that's right.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit more about Tritium? Because Polish customers may only know you from IONITY network, but can you tell us a little bit more about Tritium?
Sure. So Tritium as a business has been around for almost or a bit more than 20 years. It was started by 3 students from the University of Queensland, located in Brisbane, and they first came to know each other working on one of the solar car racing teams that the university had entered into the solar race.
I've heard about it, yes.
Yeah. So every 3 years there is a solar race from the northern part of Australia to the south, from Darwin to Adelaide. And the University of Queensland was participating, and they met as part of that team. And the team was very successful, even though they had a very small budget when compared to some of the other teams. There were most of the teams are from universities, but they're often sponsored by large businesses. And the team had a lot of success, and there was one component in particular that the team and the 3 founders of Tritium were responsible for developing, and they ended up going into business afterwards, building that component and selling it to a lot of the teams that they were competing against.
Wow.
And so for many years after they left the university, they were involved in a whole range of engineering projects, all to do with battery and power management. You know, we say that Tritium technology has been tested in the hottest, the highest, and the deepest places and the coldest places on Earth. So I'll unpack that. So the hottest, you know, in outback Australia, it's often well over 40 degrees. So
that's hot.
Yeah, the solar cars race through the desert in those sorts of temperatures. The deepest, so one of our founders was involved with providing technology for the battery management system in the electric submarine that went to the bottom of the Mariana Trench.
Wow.
So James Cameron, the director from Titanic, sorry, he heard about James Kennedy, one of our founders' expertise, and he was brought in to help with that. So that's the hottest. The deepest, we've had technology used in Antarctica, so the coldest. And then the highest, we've had technology included in one of a project that Google ran with a solar-powered plane. So, you know, there's a lot of very challenging environmental conditions that Tritium technology has been involved in. But that was all before we started building electric vehicle chargers.
So many places, different conditions. But now Tritium is mainly about the charging stations, right?
That's correct, yeah. And not only just charging stations, but just DC charging. So we believe the future of electric vehicle charging is DC. There will always be a place for AC chargers, most notably in the home. But we believe there is very, very strong growth potential in the DC charging market. So that is exclusively where Tritium focuses.
Okay, so DC is mainly highways and some solutions for the companies probably.
Yeah, that's right. Anywhere where you need a lot of power in a short period of time is a DC charging solution. AC as you and your listeners may know, it provides a much lower level of power over a longer period of time. And that is perfectly suitable for some situations, for example, charging at home. But if you're driving down the highway and you need to cover 500 kilometres, your battery has a range of 300 kilometres, you need to stop. And you probably don't want to stop for much more than 20 minutes to, stretch, maybe get some refreshments. And so having a DC charger at a highway stop like that is the perfect solution.
And then what's the most powerful charger that you have in your lineup?
The most powerful one that we've currently built is the 350 kilowatt charger.
Okay.
And that product is used exclusively by IONITY across their European network. We've deployed over 220 sites for IONITY with the whole range, anywhere from 2 to 6, or in some cases more, of those 350 kilowatt chargers.
Okay, that sounds big. And if we're talking about numbers, how many chargers have you already sold around the globe?
So we're currently over 6,000.
6,000?
Yeah, so I mentioned how Tritium started, but our first electric vehicle charger was sold in 2014. And that was a 50...
That's a long time ago.
That was a 50 kilowatt charging station. Not long after that, we started, we jumped all the way to the 350. And so since 2014, we've been growing dramatically. Our business has more than doubled every single year for the last 5 years.
So you started in Australia, but your main market is still in Australia, or rather US or Europe?
Our main market is Europe, and it has been our main market for many years. Just in the last 18 months, the US has grown very, very strongly. So Europe is still our largest, but it's very closely followed by
US.
the United States, or North America, I should say. And, Australia and Asia Pacific currently make up about 10% of our revenue.
And do you sell anything in China or not?
No, we don't sell anything in China. They use a different plug, standard plug, and we don't manufacture any chargers with that plug.
Okay.
It is a very, very large market, but it's not one that we participate in at all.
Got it. So if we talk about Europe, how about Poland? Because you're now here speaking with us, but not you didn't come here just to have this discussion, because you see potential in Poland. Is it correct?
Absolutely. We already have some customers with Tritium chargers in Poland. Some of the car dealerships have Tritium chargers, 50 kilowatt Tritium chargers. 3 of the IONITY sites that are currently live are located in Poland, and there's more being developed. There's a logistics company that uses our chargers. But there is, a very significant potential for growth in Poland. Poland is the 6th largest vehicle market in Europe, and even though it's a long way behind some of the early adopters like Norway, it is definitely starting to. The market for electric vehicles is definitely starting to grow, and there's a couple of reasons for that. The first is, we're seeing increasing demand from drivers, which is being matched by an increased range of electric vehicle models. For many years, really the only car you could get was a Tesla, and then VW started bringing out models, and now there's more and more models, which means that there's vehicles that suit more and more people, so more and more drivers. And so their drivers are voting with their feet or with their wallets and starting to purchase electric vehicles, which is a good sign to see.
This is true. We also see it as Elocity. So we have more and more requests for and then questions for the installation of the chargers with the system. So I agree that the market is booming, and I think it's a good moment for Tritium to, let's say, focus on countries like Poland, because unlikely to the AC charges, which are already pretty common, especially in the cities. Our network along the highways is not that big, and it needs to be increased. So I think that's a good point.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lack of available chargers, specifically along highways, is a real deterrent to drivers buying electric vehicles. And so that's why it's been so encouraging to see the government provide funding this year and over the next 3 years, specifically aimed at increasing the number of high-powered DC charging stations in Poland. So as they get built out, that will make it much easier for drivers to travel between cities. At the moment, it would be quite easy to travel. If you had a car in Warsaw, for example, it's not that hard to charge that vehicle either at your home or, if you're lucky, at work or at one of the public charge stations. If you're only driving maybe 40 or 50 kilometres per day, there's plenty of opportunities to charge. But when you want to travel from Warsaw to somewhere else and there's uncertain or maybe no charging infrastructure, that really limits the demand for electric vehicles for drivers who need that type of flexibility.
That is true. And there is a point, and there is a place for Tritium, and especially 350 kilowatts. That would be a really quick charging. I hope we get more of those in Poland for sure. So, and what's going on for the future with Tritium? Do you have any plans for new models or expanding the business? How does it look like?
Yeah, so look, it's a very exciting time for Tritium. Only less than 10 days ago, we became a publicly listed company on the NASDAQ in New York. Until then, it was a private company. And so that process has opened up a lot of opportunities for Tritium to expand. As an example, we've just opened our an electromobility testing centre within our headquarters in Brisbane, and so that has allowed us to replicate the type of testing that previously we had to go to Germany to carry out. And so that was a very long process to ship chargers from Australia to Germany, to transport our staff over there, to set up and do the test. If we found any problems with the product that we weren't expecting, then we would have to go back to Australia, redesign the product, and then start that whole process again. So to have a testing facility in our own building, it's the highest power testing facility available for electric vehicle chargers anywhere in the world. That will allow us to really fast track, increase the speed of our product development.
Good.
So it provides a whole range of different testing, including environmental testing. So we have a chamber that can be heated up to well over 70 degrees or well down, below 30 or 40 degrees below zero. So we can test our chargers in all sorts of environmental conditions, which makes them much more robust when they're actually deployed out in the wild.
Real environment, right?
Exactly. So, we also just announced our modular scalable, the second product in our modular scalable charging platform. The first was the RTM, which comes in 50 or 75 kilowatt varieties. And the new product we announced just last year in December is the PKM 150. So that's the first product in the PKM range. And it's an industry first. It has a DC microgrid. So the power is rectified from AC to DC in one machine, and then that power is fed into a grid that can be connected to up to 4 chargers. And there will be in the future, there will be higher power chargers using that same type of technology. So there's a whole roadmap of products that Tritium aims to deliver over the coming years. So
we need to speak about it more, because it sounds interesting, really. Because if there's like big facility that would need a lot of DC chargers, then such a solution sounds nice.
Yeah,
actually.
look, it's very, very flexible technology, and there's a lot of advantages to that particular design, as you say, specifically for people who need multiple chargers in a single location. And interestingly, you know, that charger plus the other one I mentioned, the RTM75. In fact, all of our chargers are built on liquid cooled technology.
But it's an internal cooling or the cable cooling? Internal one?
Both, depending on the size of the charger or the amount of kilowatts it can generate. So all of our chargers have inbuilt liquid cooling, which allows us to completely seal the enclosure that contains all of the electrical components. So that prevents dust, water, salt, and insects from getting in there, which means the charger can be more reliable and also has a longer useful life. We design our chargers to have a useful life of at least 10 years. So
it's a robust machine, right?
That's right. And so the enclosure is cooled with using this liquid technology. But as you say, for some of the higher power chargers, also the cables are cooled. Again, with liquid. So in fact, we have two cooling systems in our highest.
So I guess this 350 kilowatt model is
exactly.
both with the internal cooling and with the cable cooling, right?
Correct. Yep, that's right.
But that's kind of that's good and safe.
Yeah. And look, in terms of other future expansion, we are in the process of, we're just starting to build our second manufacturing facility located in the United States. Co-located with our headquarters in Australia is our production facility, and the demand for our products is just increasing at such an enormous rate that having one facility is not enough. So we are building additional facilities in our biggest markets. So the first one will be in the United States, and then sometime next year we expect to build another factory here in Europe.
Okay.
We have, you know, hundreds.
You're more than welcome to Poland.
Well, it may well be in Poland. So
actually, from the production point of view, in terms of electromobility, Poland is quite a big player, because there are a lot of manufacturers for the batteries, car batteries.
Yep.
We also have Polish manufacturers of chargers and some accessories as well. So in terms of production, which goes then worldwide, Poland is quite a big player, especially among other European countries.
Yeah. Well, look, we've seen a lot of demand for chargers across Western Europe and in Scandinavia for many years, which is obviously still growing. But the central and eastern parts of Europe have been a bit slower off the mark, but there will certainly be a huge amount of growth. So it may make sense to build a factory in Poland.
Sure. So I'm glad that Elocity is already integrated with your chargers, because then we can do the, let's say, business together and with your customers.
I would look forward to that.
Okay. So Matt, thank you very much for coming here straight from Australia. And I wish you luck, all the best with your business. And I hope we speak to you soon.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate you having me.